All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, man. Today we have a Houston Rockets John Wall trade video. There's some rumors swirling around, man. But first things first, the Washington Wizards, traded away Spencer Dinwiddie. They need a point guard. Like, the Washington Wizards need a point guard. And just the idea of John Wall returning to Washington, even if it's not like in a trade with the Rockets, let's just do a quick hypothetical where the Rockets keep John Wall all throughout next season and, he enters free agency, it just goes back to Washington. Like, that would just be such a cool story in its own. So trade him to Washington. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Welcome back to the channel, man. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button if you guys enjoy it. I'm posting this on my main channel, but I'm also posting this on my Houston Rockets Daily channel. I get a ton of comments all the time saying, like, post more Rocket videos on this account, please post more Rockets. I have a literal daily Rockets channel. The link will be in the bio, and it'll also be pinned at the top of the comment section. So I like to, maybe once a month, I like to post a video kind of reminding you guys and put it on both accounts. And more the merrier. I also have like all my social links down there. We have a Discord. It's mainly Rockets fans, but there's a bunch of other fans of all NBA fans, if that entices you. So I saw this tweet. This is from Rockets_insider, and I don't know if this is like an actual legitimate quote, but if it is, I mean, this would be crazy. Like, this would actually be crazy. If this is a real quote, I can't believe it's flown this under the radar. So earlier today, about 3 hours ago, we had a tweet from David Aldridge. If you don't know David Aldridge, it's the guy, it's David Aldridge is the guy who like talks before the 2K games. I think it always used to be Doris and David Aldridge, but now I'm thinking, like, did both of them do it? Maybe they just kind of like flipped it or switched it out in 2K, but we're talking about 2K, who cares? So basically he tweeted 3 hours ago from The Athletic, the Wizards are again in the point guard market. John Wall is again looking for a gig, and he'll be entering the final year of his contract next year, so blah, 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 would you? And then we have this tweet from Rockets_insider where this is a quote. This is a legit quote, or hopefully a legit quote. Wall would welcome a return to the team that took him with the #1 pick in the 2010 draft. It's something he recently discussed with people close to him around the league. So I think that quote is from this Athletic article, and the Athletic, for some reason, charges money, which is just like ridiculous because whatever, we're not here to roast the Athletic today, but I hate that the Athletic always charges money to read their stupid articles when it's like, what? Like, if that annoys you, comment that down below. But could you imagine, dude? So you guys know, if you guys been watching me for this season, last season, I don't actually have an issue with John Wall being on the roster until his contract is played out, which is at the end of not this year, but at the end of next year. So he's got a player option. I guess technically right here is the last year of his contract, but he's got a player option, something almost like $50 million for next year. And a lot of Rocket fans don't like that. It does not sit well with a lot of Rocket fans. And like, it's not like that sits well with me, but it's more so of the fact that, like, I'm not in a rush, right? We have the worst record in the NBA. We had the worst record in the NBA last year. We signed Daniel Tice in the offseason last year for $36 million. So it's like, I don't think financials are that big of an issue. Like, I know we have Eric Gordon and John Wall on this roster, and those are like our fat contracts, but that's really it. I mean, those are really the only two fat contracts. The rest of them are relatively young or relatively cheap. So, since we have this hopeful top 3, top 5-ish pick in the draft once again, my thinking is next year the Rockets will probably be somewhere in that like play-in conversation. Like, next year they'll probably be somewhere between like 7 to the 12th seed in the Western Conference, or I guess 8 through 12th. I guess 7's kind of getting a little excited here. So from that situation, like, I still don't see John Wall playing, but if you kind of catch my drift, we have guys we need to pay soon. Not that soon, but relatively soon. KPJ we do need to pay soon, but we have 4 rookies this year, so all 4 of those rookies we're going to have to pay. Christian Wood's contract's up at the same time John Wall's contract's up, so they got a decision to make with that. You're going to have the same thing to do with Jae'Sean Tate. So you have not this season, but after next season, that's going to be a really, really, really interesting offseason, because hopefully next year we're a lot more competitive. Maybe we're in the play-in tournament, and then, try and get some free agents, but then you need to sign like all the players I just mentioned, like KPJ, Jayshawn Tate, Christian Wood, or you need to make your decisions about those players. And then like basically the year after that, I believe, is the year where you need to pay guys like Jalen Green and all of these first round picks. So I don't see the way our roster is set up right now. I don't see the Rockets like buying out John Wall next year. The first 30 games of the season, first 25 of the games of the season this year, it's like most Rocket fans were like saying like, please buy this man out, please buy this man out, please trade this man. But now that we're like basically 4 or 5 weeks away from the end of this year, it's gonna be like easier to trade off John Wall. It's gonna be easier to buy him out next year. So as long as John Wall isn't playing, that sounds rude, but like as long as John Wall isn't taking up minutes for guys like Kevin Porter Jr., Josh Christopher, Jalen Green, Daishen Nix, hopefully, that's kind of the point I'm getting at here. So, a trade with the Wizards would be really interesting, because that's what I'm talking about is next year, around the trade deadline next year, you're going to have a little bit more of an idea of what your team is looking like. Even at the end of this year, we're kind of hoping we have a much better idea, a much better feel of a lot of these players. Like KPJ keeps dropping 20. Jalen Green keeps dropping 20. They have 2 straight games where both of them have dropped 20 points. So if these guys continue to trend in the right direction, if Christian Wood trends in the right direction, you might have a little bit more of an idea of what you're looking for. So you have a couple of options you could do here. My hand's dirty. You have a couple of options you could do here. If the Rockets are like trying to be competitive next year, trade John Wall, $40-something million contract. You try and get some players on expiring deals to maybe see, save money in the long term, or you try and get players either on expiring deals or just straight up bigger contracts, and you try and make a playoff push. So, there's like a whole bunch of different hypotheticals. It's actually like really confusing. It confuses me even talking about it. But a John Wall trade to Washington, it's just a really interesting subject here, because, like I said, we're talking like $40+ million of contracts here. So you're either literally getting players on expiring deals so they can try and match up contracts, but you'll probably get at least one contract that you're not necessarily big on. And I'm talking, think of like that Daniel Tice. Think of Daniel Tice. Like if you trade away John Wall and you received like a Daniel Tice-esque player, a guy who's like 30 or not 30 quite yet, 29 years old, whatever the hell, and role player, he's like solid but not like that great. Maybe like a Luke Kennard, a guy who's on like somewhere between a $10 to $15 million a year contract, where it's like, if it's several years, it's like, is it really worth trading John Wall for guys like that, or is it worth just literally not playing him for the next season, next year, maybe buying him out if you really are that desperate, if he wants to be bought out, if he comes out and he's like super unhappy, maybe you buy him out in that situation. It's just really interesting. This is going to be a really interesting situation. So hit the like button, hit that sub button for Rockets content, NBA content on this channel, and check out Houston Rockets Daily down below. Peace.